Good afternoon. I am today going to discuss about angles of manipulation and the games that are played. Very much unlike hauntings from the past. Well, there was a quote from The Sum of All Fears where they were talking about how you don't fight the Russians or the Germans, you get the Russians to fight the Germans and watch. And that's basically the premise that is Tom Clancy. General Mills tricks, the rabbit, uh, that Bugs Bunny sort of mentality, Looney Tunes, that, well, we pay for everything, like I said, since we are high value global assets, even though the pimp handlers don't want you to think that way because you might get uppity. And they don't like their slaves uppity. That's how they keep them beat down into the ground in them Silence of the Lamb wells deep, providing free energy. Well, they getting paid and having the party of the lifetime on stolen wallets. And who cares? Let hell pay the bills because it's basically identity theft, and they having a party on a stolen wallet. And we just happen to be the principal. Our name is on the bank, but we don't even know it because we're not even allowed in our own estate because other people have occupied. We've been the Occupy movement that really happened to my family. Therefore, our assets and our vehicles and everything were occupied, and they try to hide it as any number of methods or motives or ways of justification of it. But for the most part, we've just been hijacked. I mean, really hijacked and sabotaged. I mean, just crashed, horrifically crashed. So we are played against each other because we are vulnerable and exposed. And therefore, the mob learned long ago with us how to manipulate us because obviously we were easily accessible and we were high value targets. All these points of light, all the that's what they saw. They could smell, they could see. It was astronomy, mariners. You can look up at the sky and see patterns, so that's value. So what they're doing is, even though they refuse to acknowledge, they won't negotiate or acknowledge our existence, they will sell it to other people while they are keeping us captive. So that's what's going on, and we've been turned into, like I said, I think we're key makers or high value. We would be a high value element, and therefore we're added into equations as trade. It's like I said before. I think what they're doing is they're using us to produce a ton of Rolls Royce hood ornaments, and they're sticking them on a fleet of VW bugs to get into the casino. And then once you're in, there's winners and there's losers and there's a competition. But the problem is the number they're breaking them. They're knocking over the bank. They're wrecking the house. Therefore, just so it's just a loot and a smash and grab job. And we just happen to be the hood ornament keys. That's my theoretical interpretation of what's going on. So the mob is made up of lots of different various faction groups who all see us as chumps. They are meal ticket chumps. And so they are going to figure ways to utilize our energy, to transfer power out of our body into the others. Like I said, I got hacked really, really bad my entire life. I didn't even know it. I didn't understand it till after college, what was really going on, because I did never put much credibility into. I always thought the body, it was a sole entity. I believe that for some reason, but the machine game system changed when they see. I think it adjusted when they screwed me so bad. It sort of mutated the game to worship the game. That's why you've got this abundance of they're worshiping the gaming system rather than worshiping the body. And therefore, the hacks that were perpetrated upon me distribute. I am not allowed to use my body. My body was hotwired and stolen. And therefore, like I said, given off to other people and parts and shares. They sell shares in my body, and I'm not allowed to use it. But to protect their stolen vehicle, I got to stay hostage, and they've got to protect. And they have help. They have better health care than the victim. They have better lawyers than the victim. They have better because they were. You got to realize when someone is guilty, they will figure a way to at any cost, especially if they're able to control the victim. That's why it is so dumb for us to stay out in the woods exposed, because they figure ways to use us. And it's been going on a long time now. I mean, really. So now what they've done is they just kind of pass us around. Well, they lifted our wallets, then locked us out of the country clubs for the most part. So the country clubs getting the really good goods, and then outside, their pets are doing the dirty work, like waiting on the Caddyshack, waiting on the tables, feeding them, that sort of thing, cooking their victuals. We happen to be the ones that are being butchered, and so they're doing the dirty work. But nobody, I mean, I've been trying to get in. I've literally been locked out. They figured out ways to alienate and lock me out for a long time. Like I said, it was no doubt about it. Different various mob factions, and they always try to hide behind their almighty gods, the chemical plants. They worship chemical plants. That's it. But they don't really control them. They could have, if they would have built an empire, they could have controlled to a degree percentages of these energy companies. But instead, they wanted to hunt, hunter-gatherers. That's what they wanted to do. So now they're just the pets of the big energy companies, but still, they're doing the dirty work as roughneck wildcatters to us. So therefore, they are unable to control because they don't have the power. They pitted members of families of the energy company workers against me to beat me down, but those people could not take over the energy company and control a percentage of it. Whereas if they would have built an empire, we could have controlled a percentage of the company because of the global power we had. So now they're desperate to destroy the global power because that's what's been going on. That's why it's the quantitative system of economic advance. I mean, they just keep printing more money, and they upgrade, and there's the accounting's really crooked and all that sort of stuff. So we are played like pieces because we're exposed and vulnerable, and they've learned how to play us. And they've created, because the mob we're in bubbles. And so they control the environment. They can control the thought process type. We are like in shelters, and we are programmed to be a certain way. And therefore, they can control the way we think and manipulate in any number of ways. And the best case scenario is infighting, because it's not only is it an entertaining distraction, it weakens the entire core of it. Therefore, it makes it easier to keep the stolen loot. So infighting is what the best case scenario of. And if we're exposed, and you got to steer. But that's the problem. Everybody is not willing to steer. They just sit there like a bump on a log and do nothing. And so the mob will figure ways to create. You got to understand something. We are the high value assets. They will throw nobodies at us all day. It's like throwing a pawn at a queen or a king on a chessboard. And I don't worship the game. The game mentality is crazy in my estimation. And, it's a metaphor, but it's not something. It's entertainment, but it is not life, unless you are a gambling addict, which a lot of people addicted to this game grid are gambling addicts. They're addicted to keeping us in the game because we pay so much. And that's my theoretical interpretation. So they keep us in there. We should be the house, but what they've done is they've pried open the vault, and they basically kept us hostage, and they just keep spending money on the house accounts. And so they keep giving out money, but the house is being bankrupted and knocked over. So there's nothing going to be left. They transferred all the money out of there. And so now they're just going to leave a hollow shell to burn down like the Goodfellas did. I mean, basically, that's what it is. So the mob uses steer, or it's that you have to steer. Like I said, they will figure ways. They are smart enough to figure this out. And I can't do anything. I have tried to steer. I have shown a propensity to escape, and therefore I am kept at a very, very low level handicap because I am trying to escape from, and they are addicted to my stolen wallet. They will try. I mean, they've had such an opportunity to destroy me that it seems like that they are in the right, and but in actuality, I'm the victim trying to escape in order to I'm trying to put the estate back in order, being the energy. What's going on is we give away everything. We give away everything. All we're doing is bribing muscle. But the problem is we're so weak and vulnerable, we give away so much that we're small and insignificant because we don't use any of our energy. We don't get to use our own products, our own energy, because it is the parasites were so efficient. They are so efficient in order to maintain control of the victims that we are just bled almost to death. I am literally on life support, just barely alive. I mean, just barely alive. Whereas I should be a monstrous giant, but my body is sold for parts. And therefore, other people, because I'm weak and vulnerable. So, of course, and I'm a high value target because of all sorts of things. And I'm reverent to everything. I pay for everything. And I beautify the guilty that screw me. That's how special sweet meat I am, you know? I mean, really, they're running a game on us like you can't believe. But the country club law, it doesn't do a damn thing because of, they're getting the really good goods. They're getting the upgrades at the country club, So they don't really care. They locked me out, and therefore their pets are doing the dirty work. So they don't really care. So like I said, we are giving and giving and giving. We never steered nobody. We never had any counselors. Nobody from the state ever did anything for us. Yet we pay a ton to LSU and all the state universities, and we don't pay as much to Tulane and Loyola. They supply their own, but we are keys to certain state controlled assets, and therefore, but we get nothing. Have to fend for ourselves, which is the dumbest thing. We're talking about potentially billions of dollars, and we're giving it all away, and then we look really, really weak and vulnerable. And so, of course, the predatory, competitive, gambler, addictive nature is we're going to kill the source for validation, because also we're proud and we want to be independent. We're so proud we want to be independent. And so they destroy the source or keep us as joke hostages, beautifying those that utilize our influence because we are unable to steer the mechanism of the estate, or we are weak, vulnerable, and exposed, and we just keep giving and giving and giving. And it's all based on several precedences, especially energy. Energy is a communal pool of equal, it's like a plug. You plug, whatever you plug it, we are like energy. They just throw us into the mix. We are worth a lot. We give a ton, but the plugs are all the same. It's the machines that matter. And so therefore, we are the energy, whereas it's all equal energy, the communal energy, but the machines that it powers and the plugs are all different. So you can plug a $1 million machine, or you can plug a $2 machine in, and it uses the same energy. We just happen to supply a lot to the energy communal pool. Also to the insurance communal pool of assets. We supply, it's like just throw everything in and we'll redistribute. It's a redistribution of wealth. It's communalism for the most part. We just happen to, like I said, give billions of dollars and through keys to access assets, and most people get thousands or hundreds of thousands of dollars, yet we get relegated to the bottom rung because they're addicted to our huge donation that they will not allow us. And I can't even get a secretary from the state of Louisiana. What a joke. So then they worship extreme the system of politicians, and they don't really care about who powers the source. And we happen to be the power company free. We're solar. We don't get anything, or hydro, or wind power, or whatever. We don't, because we are weak and vulnerable, and we gave away too much. We should have steered back in the 80s. We should have steered back in the 80s and never allowed us to be exposed, because I was massacred. Literally set up, and I didn't have a clue what was going on. And obviously the parents didn't care. They were just, they were stubborn. They were right, hard-headed and tough, stupid. I mean, retarded stupid when you look at it, that they're giving away billions of dollars to be the master. It's all about being the master of the living room when you could have the castle. But they're real worried about their one room, rather than the whole castle. They're going to be master and fight over the one room. Whereas we actually could have controlled a castle, a state, but no, they were too stubborn and proud and tough. So they gave it all away to the mob by keeping us weak and vulnerable, because they wanted to ride and show who was the master. I mean, it's just insane, stupid. And literally, I got beat almost to death. I keep getting beat down, hacked, poisoned, shot, stabbed, metaphorically, of course. And I'll get brought back, but it's like, do it on your own, play it as it lies. It's like, well, if you get stabbed, I'm not allowed to go to a doctor and get that fixed. If I get poisoned up, play it as it lies. That's it. Manipulation of golf, it's golf, because of it goes into manipulation, because we never say anything or define anything. The mob loves interpreting, because therefore they can do whatever they want. You can make anything up by action or interpretation of action, especially when we are in a controlled environment. And it's like we have option A or B, because that determines a certain way that can be manipulated into 100 different avenues of interpretation. Whereas we should have options A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, because we provide so much to the system. But if we had all these options and we knew about them, we might get uppity and escape. And they don't want their slaves escaping. It's free, reverent beauticians, slaves, because we gotta pay for their health care because of the communal health care insurance. Because they gambled on screwing us, or they let their dogs screw us for sport. They wanted some bestiality to prove who was so VIP special pretty cosmetics. So they let their pets screw us for a bozo joke, and that locked us out. The country club law locked us out but they already stole our wallet. We paid their green fees through Reese Jones, September 16th, and they scalp us for their fairways, but we can't play because we might get uppity and escape, because I've always been surrounded by incompetence, because I've shown a propensity to try to better myself, and they don't want me bettered. It's like once you can't ever get out. They're trying to teach lessons. Another lesson is the caste system lesson. So what would happen, like I said before, is I was hacked. My genetic code, my body was hacked almost to death, to where all my energy was given away under the precedences of Louisiana natural resources and private property. So I'm owned, but I'm not able to use my body. Ridiculous. But they gambled in those, so therefore Louisiana is really, really weak. Louisiana is weak. I mean, they're sure they might look tough against Mississippi, but yeah, if you look again, you got to worry about Texas, Missouri, Oklahoma even has a bunch of energy companies, and Georgia, and not to mention New York, California. But Louisiana wanted to, they gambled. They're gamblers, hardball gamblers, to show who was the master tough. And so they, rather than building an empire, they beat us into They shrunk us down into gummy bears or teddy bears so they could, look like they were tough because they were worried about appearances or something like that. So they are now the roughnecks. They don't have a chance. They have no leverage. We were their leverage keys. But what they did was they gave away the good keys to, they got the middle to the lower middle keys in Louisiana. And I mean, they've got their crews and their parties and all that stuff. And there's probably a good bit of wealth, but they did nothing with it as far as they're heavily addicted strictly to the chemical and petrochemical industry. They develop no other industries. I mean, they're filming a bunch of films in Louisiana right now. Ooh, great. But if they would have built something with us, they could have had stakes in Disney. They could have had a stake in MGM. They could have had a stake in Vivendi. But they were so dumb globally that the French can't even do anything with them because they would alienate the rest of their world allies because they screwed up so bad. Louisiana screwed up so bad that the French have to try to save face by they can't really support Louisiana because they're addicted to screwing us, basically. They can't quit screwing us. Brokeback Mountain, I just can't quit screwing us. I mean, they're addicted. I mean, you got to eat some meat, come on. Pay your bills. It's not sold. Because then we could help the state because we have global power influence. Otherwise, who else has risen up out of the state to do anything other than play in the system of the games itself? I haven't seen anybody. All the companies have jumped ship. Freeport's in Arizona. All these certain companies jump ship because they're playing small ball. It's all based upon these precedents that we want to interpret because they don't want to speak. I don't understand. They want to telepathy or some bullshit like that. It makes no sense to me at all. Louisiana could have been a principality with connections to South America and Europe. But no, it's the runt of the SEC. Well, it and Mississippi are the runts of the SEC. That's really what it is. I mean, there's really not anybody. I mean, they're going to get looted. I mean, as soon as they turn on the jets, or anything happens, they're going to come up and pick up the rest of the pieces. And Louisiana's going to be nothing but a crawfish shell laying there rotten and stench. I mean, that's really all it is. They're draining the water. It's all the Mississippi River's diverted into Texas and Georgia. But they were so proud. They didn't want, they don't have no leverage. Louisiana has no leverage and no muscle. They're just the roughnecks and the wildcatters because they gambled on locking us out and playing all natural. I don't understand. It makes no sense. Or it really doesn't. I blame the country club law, first of all. They did nothing. I mean, literally, I never had one decent advisor around me. It was, never had one decent person tell me anything. Nobody ever I figured everything out on my own at the library. And they could use the precedent. I mean, literally, I figured everything out on my own. I got nothing, no help from anyone at all. None. I mean, literally none. I mean, at all. I mean, seriously. I mean, the thing is, a state education is going to teach me how to be a member of the livestock state. I am not they needed a specialized system to develop our family or me, and they never did it. I did it on my own. My parents never taught me anything. My mother never taught me anything. She said no a whole lot, never told me one thing about life. My father never told me anything. Figured it all out on my own. They're great talking bullshit stories, but that helps nothing. No plans, no nothing. Just go out and play, locked out. And all they did was they were giving out our money. They were giving our money away. That's all they did. Just giving money away. They give away tons. They're the biggest philanthropists in the history of the world. We give away more than anyone in the history of the world. That's what we ought to be known as, the biggest chumps. And we can't even eat. We give away so much, I can't even feed myself. That's how generous we are. I mean, does that sound retarded? To me, it sounds retarded. And to me, well, we got mismanaged. We got inside trade and sabotage who are only interested in riding their damn horse to prove they're a big Texan, you know? I mean, literally. And they're working for the energy companies. They're giving our money away to their buddies who are building cages around us. I mean, you talk about the worst conflict of interest, insider trading sabotage ever. And don't buy into this bullshit of freedom of religion, because that's a small percentage tied into whatever. Like I said, I don't want to be fed, no. That's because they want, what it is they want to use our vast, deep pockets to communal pool it. Let's swap wallets. We'll spin your wallet and we'll keep you as our slave, as while you're being reverent to the pets that we beat for all those years. Now that's the deal of the century, you know what I mean? I mean, come on. It's really, really dumb. The Yankees have to be laughing their ass off because Georgia could have done something, but they wanted to screw, they wanted to purple haze, Oh, Abita made a purple haze beer, so it ain't Jimi Hendrix where you kill yourself young. Woo, you so smart. Woo, you must be smart. Golly. I mean, absolutely. Look at California. Look at New York. Look at the Northeast. Look at the Midwest. I mean, Nebraska, for Christ's sakes, has a bunch of companies. Kansas has a lot more than Louisiana. Illinois, Minnesota. Look at Louisiana. Oh, go to hell, Ole Miss. I mean, what a bunch of fucking morons. While they have the most, literally, give away the biggest chumps in the world. Like I said, we are the biggest philanthropists in the history of the world, and we can't even afford a house. We give it away, but we can't afford, to even identify the estate. It's just blind, give it away, give it away, give it away. That's all it is. Free solar, because we are outside in the elements, because we are not smart enough to build an estate. And we're surrounded. Well, we gave away so much. And we were weak and vulnerable and obviously not very bright, so we got massacred by those around us. We've never really had I never had a friend, obviously. Otherwise, somebody would have probably said something. So obviously, they were born to die, as Lana Del Rey sings, literally. And you can try to call it religion all you want, but that's a sham. Build your own Jesus. You want to use the bank of, it's because they want to swap wallets, play a little wife swap there because the deep pockets of Latin America. And that's not necessarily very cohesive in my book. And the big winners literally have to be the people that are just standing back and looking at this debacle like the dumbest thing in the history of the world. I mean, it just doesn't make any sense. And it's all just upon pride and Pride and Prejudice. I mean, Jane Austen. I mean, really, there's a lot to it. And it just doesn't make any sense to me. And I can't do anything. Literally, it gave so much away. And they don't need me because our family gives away our junk to our enemies to beat us. I mean, that's how dumb it looks. I mean, it's like our own family are giving away all our stuff, all our money. They're just saying, come on in, take all the money you want. We don't need it. We'll sit here in the woods and starve to death. Anybody? And they have taken everything. And then they built cages around it because then we're going to beautify it and validate it because they not only did they take us, they're making credit cards off. They didn't just take the cash. They're making credit cards off of us to make more and more and more and more because we have global. They're figuring out every way in the book to screw us even further and further and more and more and more. I mean, it's really, you can't even imagine how bad this, and this is all based upon the principality theoretically, but hey, there's a lot of circumstantial, coincidental, synchronicity, gravitational force field evidence making it look so.